Hey everyone, I'm 33, female, and I have been married to my husband for about 6 years. Our relationship was great. We started dating when we met at university, but I lost my husband due to cancer 2 months ago. He had been having a few health issues, and even though I wanted him to go and get everything checked out, he was refusing to visit the doctor with me. Until, well, 7 months ago, he collapsed on his way to work. We rushed to the hospital, and that's where we found out that he had cancer. It had already progressed quite a bit, and he had roughly 6 months to live. Now, I have had family members who have been diagnosed with cancer who outlived the prognosis. So I was hopeful, and initially he was definitely showing signs of getting better. He was stronger, responding to chemo and everything, but randomly his condition crashed and a lot of major health issues arose. The doctors did their best to make sure he survived, but he did not have it in him. He was It was extremely hard for me to let my husband go. I had always imagined spending my whole life with him, and I never thought our marriage was going to get cut short so easily. I honestly went into autopilot mode soon after he died. Everything I did since he took his last breath until he was laid to rest next to his father, I did in autopilot mode. I could not bring myself to cry or show my emotions. It was like I was numb. I did everything necessary to the best of my capabilities, and when everything was done, I broke down. I was floored with grief and the emptiness that was there in my heart. I could not bring myself to leave the bed, to take care of myself, to take care of my health. I could not bring myself to live my day-to-day life without my husband. It was like the moment I came home after laying him to rest, finally the dam broke. I was in that depressed mental rut for days. I slowly realized that my husband would not have been happy with how I was behaving and with his thoughts. I gathered myself. I started cleaning up the house and organizing everything. I considered cleaning out his office once, but I could not do it. I kept his office the way it was so that every time I walked past the office, I could imagine my husband was just outside to get something, and he would be back soon and start working. It was not a healthy coping mechanism, but I wanted the emotional comfort it provided me and stuck to it. Eventually, while cleaning the house, I came across all the documents he had kept in the wardrobe. One of those documents was regarding the house. My curiosity got the best of me, and I went through the document. Turns out, when my husband got diagnosed, he decided to change the ownership of the house from him to me. I also found a small handwritten note inside the envelope. It was a letter. In that letter, he mentioned how much he knows I will be struggling, and he reassured me that everything would be okay eventually, that I should not give up on love, and when I found myself stable enough to love again, I should, because I deserved that. He also mentioned that he is leaving the house to me because he promised to provide for me when we got married, and even if cancer is taking him out, he will fulfill that promise no matter what. That letter honestly broke me down. I hated how much I missed him. The letter brought over another wave of emotions, and safe to say, I got overwhelmed again. However, this time around, I was not alone. My mother-in-law decided to drop by while I was dealing with those overwhelming feelings. She came over to see how I was doing, and when she saw me overwhelmed and depressed, mother-in-law told me that she would like to stay with me and help me out. I was a little surprised by the offer. My relationship with my mother-in-law was never very healthy. She told me to my face that she did not think I was worthy of my husband when we were dating. I did not back down and told her that as I was not dating her, I do not care if she liked me or not. After that, she made it a point to magnify every flaw or mistake that I made, hoping my husband would break up with me and go with one of the girls she had chosen for him. But my husband never did. When we were getting married, mother-in-law told me again that I will never have her approval, and she can forget about that. I told her again I did not care much about it either, so I'm not too worried about it. My husband was aware of it and he tried his best to mediate everything between us. But eventually, he realized that the best way to keep everything peaceful was to make sure we, mother-in-law and I, never interacted. This is why when mother-in-law showed up at my doorstep saying that she wanted to help me with everything, I was taken aback. But I know that grief often brings people together, and at the end of the day, we both loved the same person. And we were both grieving the loss of the same man, so I let her stay. Mother-in-law was very helpful at first. She urged me to get off my butt and start cleaning the house. We cleaned the house together and had meals together, and within like 7 days of her living with me, I felt like I was slowly getting back into the normal lifestyle. That was when I got a call from my cousin who lived 2 states away to drop by her house. She wanted me to be there for her baby shower. When mother-in-law learned about it, she urged me to go because socializing would do me well. I believed her. I packed my bags and went over to the cousin's house. The baby shower was very bittersweet because partly I was happy to see my cousin have the family she had always wanted, but I was also sad because I cannot have the same with the love of my life. I came home feeling extremely bittersweet, but I had no idea what was waiting for me. I came home and saw all of my stuff was outside. Mother-in-law was not home, so the house was locked and everything was just out in the backyard and porch. I was so surprised. I tried the house key that I had and the door simply would not unlock. I waited for mother-in-law to come over just to make sense of what she was doing. When she showed up, I was this close to losing my mind. She looked extremely smug when we finally saw each other. She told me that now that I'm no longer depressed, she wanted to clean out the house, and she wanted me to go find a better place for me to live. I asked her what she even meant by that, and she told me that she does not want a roommate in her house. I asked her how she knows this is her house. She told me that she has contacted my husband's lawyer, and she knows when he will read out the papers. It will be hers because my husband loved her so much. The absurdity of her claims made me laugh. She told me to get off the porch because if I did not, she would call the police on me. I told her not to bother and call the police myself. Once the cops came, I told them that there are papers inside the house that state the house belongs to me. Mother-in-law did not want me to go inside and instead wanted me to tell her where the papers were so that she could get them. I did not believe her in the slightest, so I asked one of the cops to accompany me so that they have no reason to believe I was going to steal her stuff. When I finally got the papers, it was clear that I was the owner of the house, and she was the trespasser, as she had said to the cops. I told the cops that I wanted to press charges against her for damaging the property as she changed the locks without my permission and threw out my stuff on the porch. She was not too happy about it and left the premises begrudgingly. She decided to tell all of my husband's family a distorted version of the story, and now I'm getting messages from them, calling me an a-hole for kicking out an elderly woman and trying to get money out of her. My family told me that while I did the right thing by kicking her out, there was no reason for me to press charges. So now I'm wondering if I really did the worst thing by pressing charges against her. I feel like I had very valid reasons for pressing the charges. There was no reason for her to do the things that she did, and she had this coming. But what do you guys think? Update 1. Thank you for validating my emotions. I appreciate you guys being so understanding. I do not plan on dropping the charges, and mother-in-law has resorted to sending me threatening messages asking me to drop the charges. I'm not very intimidated by it. I am extremely overwhelmed with emotions. I did not think she was going to go this far, especially after I lost my husband and she lost her son. I understand people grieving differently. But how can you hurt someone when they are this weak? I don't understand. Update 2. Hey everyone. The court hearing was a day ago and I won the case. Mother-in-law has to pay me for damaging my books and my laptop and also throwing me out of the house. The judge was shocked at her behavior too, so knowing that everyone thinks the way mother-in-law behaved was unhinged validated my emotions to a degree. I have changed the locks again because I do not want mother-in-law coming over anymore, and since we left the courthouse, I have blocked her on socials. The relatives who've been giving me a piece of their minds about me being a terrible human being, I have told them about the situation and then cut off contact with them. If they have such a warped vision of who I am, I have no business keeping in touch with them. Update 3. Hey everyone. It's been about 9 months since I posted this. Life has been treating me well. My mother-in-law paid me the money and never got back in touch with me. I still live in the house that my husband left for me. I have picked up a job and now I work in the same room he used to work in. I feel like my heart only belongs to him, so I do not see myself marrying again or dating again, but I am happy with this. I have got myself a dog to keep me company, and I feel like my husband, who's an avid dog lover with allergies, would have been happy with him. Thank you so much for helping me out with all the bits of advice last year when I was struggling with my emotions. Everyone who suggested therapy, you guys were right. It did wonders. I have been coping with his loss far better. The emptiness is there, but it is less crippling now. I think he would have been proud of me. I am so sorry for your loss, OP. As far as the mother-in-law is considered, NTA. I would have taken her to court too. What she did is not okay at all, even if the house was in her name. The lawyer had not confirmed anything, and she simply kicked you out because of a feeling. She deserves to be charged for damaging your door and your things. I cannot imagine living without my husband, so I can only imagine the amount of pain you are going through. What your mother-in-law is doing is terrible, and she is a cruel person. Please do not let her get away with this. Next story. Me, 37, male, and my ex-girlfriend, female, 36, ended our relationship last year. During the 8 years we were together, I became a father to her kids. Not legally, but they are my kids. After the breakup, we were friends for several months, but I haven't talked to her since June, and the kids haven't really talked to me for about 2 months. The kids are teens, 15, 16, 17, so I understand they are probably just being teens and not worried about talking to me. My ex and kids still use all my streaming accounts, and she uses my Amazon Prime to buy stuff for herself and her new boyfriend. I want to just remove access to all of them since no one is talking to me or basically in my life, and yes, I have reached out with no response. It bugs me that I'm paying for these subscriptions and her new boyfriend are benefiting from it. But I also don't want to take these subscriptions and away from my kids. I also feel like taking away the Amazon now would make me an AH because it's Christmas time. But I also know I need to move on and stop allowing myself to be taken advantage of. I would just let the kids have the passwords, but of course she would get it somehow anyway, so I feel like I either remove it entirely or not at all. Would I be an AH for changing all the passwords? Update. I want to thank you all for the positive feedback and suggestions. I have begun changing passwords and removing devices from my accounts. I'm not offering any explanation or giving any heads up because you guys have made me realize I don't need to. I am not going to lie. I still feel like a petty a-hole, even though I shouldn't, but that's just my personality. To address a couple of questions, she was using her own cards to buy things. I didn't really mind until she added her new boyfriend to the address list, and that's when I started this whole idea of moving on. Pathetic, I know. When I say the kids were being teenagers and not contacting me, I meant they had their own lives going on, and I just am not high on their list of priorities. I believe we have a good relationship still, but their mom needs to provide them streaming since I am not involved right now. Again, thank you guys for all your advice. I appreciate you guys. NTA, password safety. You should be changing these passwords regularly. And you should not be sharing them with your ex, her new boyfriend, or her kids. That's nice that you still love them as your own, but they are not your own, and they do not live with you. So you should not be sharing your passwords with them. NTA. You're not together and you are under no obligation to share your streaming services. She's an adult and can pay for her own accounts. From the sounds of it, the kids aren't your kids, but they are her kids that you helped raise. If they want to go NC, then you don't need to share your services with them either. NTA, you have tried reaching out to her and the kids and really haven't heard anything back. They have moved on in their lives, and sadly, apparently, you are not a part of it. Why on earth would you continue to pay for your ex to use your Prime account? Does she actually pay for her own stuff or use your credit card? Why do you want to be a doormat for the ex and allow her to continue to use anything you pay for? Let the new boyfriend pay for the subscriptions, or she can get accounts in her own name. Allowing them to continue using these passwords and accounts is just asking for trouble in the long run. You do realize that it is very possible for them to change your passwords and lock you out of your own accounts. Change all your passwords, email, accounts, everything. Then send the kids a text telling them you either canceled your accounts or had to change all of your passwords so they won't have access to the streaming services anymore. But don't send that text until after you've done this. Otherwise, they may lock you out of your account. Get the kids a gift subscription to one or more of the streaming services they use as a Christmas present. Give it to them early if you like, or don't change the passwords until right before Christmas. Then send the gift with a note that you changed your passwords. Then, once the gift is up, they need to continue to pay for it if they want to keep it, and you are not on the hook for it. Next story. Telling my partner his relatives cannot come over for Christmas lunch. I, 40, female, have a partner, 42, male, John, and the annual discussion of Christmas lunch has come up. John has 4 siblings, all of which have 3 kids, and we have 2 of our own as well, 22 female and 3 female. He doesn't really get to see his siblings much since he works a 9 to 5 and is also getting his degree as well as his siblings all being busy with their own lives. We had discussed this before, and I was adamant that we would not be hosting lunch this year for everyone. We have done for the past 5 years. Our house is small and his siblings' children are loud and messy. My eldest daughter also agrees and wants a nice, quiet Christmas with us and her sister. My husband said that was fine with him at the time. I've recently learned, via my daughter, in the group chat that John and she is in for the World Cup. He has agreed to host a small lunch for everyone on Christmas. I will admit I was very annoyed and didn't hide it. He called me selfish and said that it was a nice thing to do for everyone and that he wants to do this. I called him out on the fact that he makes our eldest prep and cook everything. She wakes up at 7 a.m. just to do this. And it's not fair to go back on his word. That if he wanted to see any of his siblings that badly, he would arrange a day and drive to see them. He never sees my in-laws or relatives at Christmas. We have a similar amount of siblings. He said that we would talk about it another time and has been giving me the cold shoulders since. Was I wrong? Edit. Thank you everyone for all the comments and advice. I have decided to take my daughters to my parents' house and spend the majority of the day there instead of with my family. I'm not sure what John is going to do, but my daughter is happier with this, so hopefully it is a win-win. NTA. Although I'd go one step further, and if he insists, agree to it, but tell the kids they're forbidden from helping. And all of you sit back and let him host his lunch on his own. NTA. Get a nice place for you and your children and let your husband host whatever event he wants to. Your daughter may benefit from reading the book The Nice Girl Syndrome. It shows that being nice really isn't, especially to herself. She needs to start saying no, even to her parents, and having it respected. NTA, you came to an agreement. He broke his word to you and his daughter and agreed to host an event he knew you didn't want without talking to you first. He was wrong not to talk to you about it first. Since he agreed without your consent, then he can do the cooking and the cleaning and the hosting by himself while you and your kids take a nice, quiet vacation elsewhere. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.